Hey everybody, welcome to episode 32 of the Reptile Rejects podcast. This evening we have on Erick Hernandez from Bazooka Ectotherm, and yeah, so it should be awesome. We're going to hit red coastals. Erick hasn't been on a podcast in a long time. Well, for perspective, he was on many podcasts for that period of time on NPR and Carpets and Coffee, so we heard him a lot, and then we haven't heard from him in a while, so he was definitely a guy I wanted to hear from more recently because he's also had some adventures in the West Indian Boas. As when you're looking up West Indian Boa information, like Erick is, other than Jeff Murray, Erick is one of the only guys that pops up for the podcast feed on that stuff. So yeah, Dom, how's it going for you? What's new with you this week?
Pretty good. First, I was gonna say I've heard Erick many times on NPR, so definitely good episodes. I was actually pretty happy to see when you reached out to him. I'm like, oh, that's a great guest. I was like, I'm looking forward to that one. What's new with me? Again, my room is now in the upwards mode of warming up at night. My nights are slowly warming up, so it's I'm actually not freezing podcasting tonight, so it's kind of nice because it tends to get cold during winter. I've had my first witness ovulation on an inland carpet, which is cool, which is weird that she's going to be one of the first ones to lay, which makes no sense, but I'll take it. One of the baby, what the heck am I talking about? Pygmies, adult pygmies that's 2 feet long that looks like a baby carpet because she's so small. That one is full of eggs. One of them is gigantic, and I can count every single one of them. They're usually my first one to lay. I'm expecting probably eggs within the next, 22 days, maybe 21 days. She just recently shed, so. Except for that, what else is new? Not much. Life is good. Animals are good. Things are locking up. I'm getting a couple more that weren't locking up yet to start locking up. Still have about 5 or 6 pairs that, show zero interest to each other. Trying to breed super zebras to super zebras for the first time this year, purely because I want to see how much of a shit show the clutch is going to be when they hatch. They're not even cuddling. They show zero interest towards each other, so probably won't happen this year, but I have to try it. I'm just curious.
It's only just started. It could pop up at any time. It might be 2 months from now they might start breeding.
No, it's still early, and trust me, I'll keep trying. They're 2.5 years old, so they're young, but they're still like 5.5 feet. They have the semi big head, not really. Actually, no. What am I saying? No, they're 3.5, so they should be ready. But I tried. Often sometimes they go, sometimes they don't. I don't think they're gonna go, but I'll try it anyway. Yeah. Except for that, it's kind of the still waiting period. I'm still witnessing locks. I can have a sheet, like a notes of every time these ones lock, I put a check mark beside it. Some of them I think I've witnessed over 10 locks already that I just stopped writing. I'm like, okay, if they don't produce, it's not because of that. And others are still showing zero interest towards each other, so we'll see. So far, I think it won't be as good of a year as other years, purely because I have less pairs to start with. I think I'm only doing about 8 or 9 pairs. Usually I've done like my biggest year was 16 clutches, so which I never want to do that again.
Don't worry, so Shan will hold up your end of the deal.
Yeah, holy fuck, man. That guy, he's got too many animals. Like, he's got more than twice the amount of animals I have. So I have to calm him down. I'm like, are you sure you want to do that many? Like, he did a lot last year. Like, I think I hit 103 babies last year. He did probably around 160. If not more, and that's like, it's too many babies. Like, we all have careers, right? This isn't our primary job. Like, it's a lot. I don't know how he does it, but yeah. Yeah, that's basically anything new with you, Michael. You didn't really go into it before we start chatting with Erick?
Yeah, not too much. Just getting ready to prep to move kind of thing. I'm probably going to bring the animals out this week to just get them up to, like, room temperature kind of thing for when I move, and then once I get there, I'll actually set up the cages and get them all ready and start pairing, like, the pines and stuff right away, because those are animals that you want to kind of pair within, like, a couple weeks of bringing them out of brumation and keep them paired for a couple months until they go. Like, I know some people say, like, the pine snakes will go, like, immediately, but then I still don't get eggs till probably the beginning of June kind of thing, so 60 days out from there. is not right away. But we'll see. Hopefully, it won't mess up my breeding season totally. Like subocs don't breed till around then as well. I don't usually get suboc eggs till the end of June, and then they don't hatch till like mid-September. So that's always fun for the long wait on those guys. But I'd be happy with just like a couple clutches this year. I'm not going to do the sand boas again. She went a couple years in a row, because like sand boas are kind of like Perthensis and Antaresia, where they're more willing to go like back to back as long as they're fed up, which they never turn down a meal unless they're gravid, so that's never an issue. But prepping to move. Gotta start prepping fish tanks to go. Gotta move those baby fish pretty soon here, and finish up a couple things with the house and that. I'm gonna have to fly out like a week early just to hook up utilities and stuff, and get the other stuff kind of signed off on, since I'll be there anyways, and then get to make that 13-hour drive out there. That'll be fun.
Moving is I'm not a fan of it at all. Are you moving to like a new house or to another apartment?
I'm moving to a new house. I live at home right
Nice.
now, so I bought my own house, so I'm gonna move
Congrats.
out.
That's very nice.
Yeah,
The
it should be cool.
The baby bird is leaving the nest.
Good job.
I have room to grow though. That's a whole unfinished
Yeah.
basement that I can
Be careful.
finish in.
Be careful. Put
Yeah.
limits
Oh, yeah,
on
that's-
yourself. Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, for now they're just going to go into the one finished bedroom upstairs, and it'll be contained for the meantime while
For
I
now.
get established out there. I have my buddy's shop to go to and go mess with his stuff if I need to. If I get the feeling I want to keep more stuff, he has quite a few things. Like Tyrone this week, what is it? Right before he left him and Greg are on vacation right now, down in the Caribbean, and was it the day he was about to leave? 2 baby Carusia, the prehensile tail skinks, were born, and his baby veiled chameleons that were laid when we were, was it August, for one of the reptile shows we were out there in Alberta, and then like literally like the day he's leaving, like they all hatch out.
What you can do to trick yourself into thinking like you have a lot is just make one of the rooms or what space into a baby room or hatchling, and that way you separate your collection, and then you're like, oh, see, it's so big, so you don't, I'm not gonna fill more space.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm probably gonna do some sort of fish room thing downstairs as well
Nice.
at some point. Like not too big, but like I don't know. It's nice to have. Like actually, what I want to try, because here in BC we're not allowed to keep a lot of the tree frogs, because like
Okay.
I kind of want to try some frog and toad stuff maybe. Because like if you just get enough of them and rain cycle them, they'll all breed pretty easily.
And
Especially
even
like red
like
eyes.
gray tree frogs are pretty cool, so you don't have to go too
yeah.
far. And their calls are really nice.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's some really cool oddball North American tree frogs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love the red eyes. Like those, it'd be cool to get a few of those. And then there's some, what are they, barking tree frogs or something? And yeah, the grays are neat too. Like I always thought the grays were cool. And then there's some like cool toads that you see in the West Texas herping videos, like those red spotted toads down from Texas. And I think there's some sort of green toad. Like they're not, none of them are that big either. So like it's like maybe I'll have to give those a
Right.
shot at some point. So yeah, that'll be cool.
Sure, why
So
not? Yeah.
So what's going on with you, Eric? While you've been MIA from the podcasting world the last 5 years.
Yeah, I've been MIA for the socials in general. I don't know. I'm just spending some time on other stuff outside of reptiles. So I moved from Iowa to now where I live now in Minnesota. Moved all my collection. They spent some time in an apartment. Now I have a house. I told you, I have a separate baby room, which is great. And right now I'm just taking it easy. I have the Tanimbars. They just go. So she's probably gravid right now. I'm waiting for her to shed out and see if she has that dark color or not. I have 3 reds pairings that I'm going to try. A stripe head-axanthic, 2 stripe head-axanthic, both red head-axanthic. A Russian line outcross with a snail male, and that snail male I got from Chuck, his pair that he had out living in California outside, so I got a pair for that, and the male has been with that female, so no, that lies, it's not that. He has been with a Lemke outcross, which is, I called her Lilith, and she is Morningstar's sister. So Roku, my F1 to one of Pinnell's Lemke lines. So that's her, and so I'm gonna hopefully make some nice red outcrosses there, inject some new bloodline. Not new, but not related to. All my animals are really closely related. And then the Russian outcross is actually going to a backcross that was made by David Semino with two of my animals. And they were half brothers. And they half brothers? Yeah, they were half brothers. And those I want to put together, and I think those are going to be spectacular. I think when we can go into this, but I think both of them are super reds. And I'm going to see, hopefully, if all of them are reds, if all of them are high quality, and from there maybe get a little bit more data into that. That's there pretty much it.
So I was to say, I definitely want to go into the Reds conversation because I find it hard. There's no real clear explanation of what the red gene is and all that. So I definitely want to go 100% into that right after. But can we just start with the overall? If you want to give a quick 5-minute synopsis, or
Reptile Rejects is proudly sponsored by Cornell's World and the Western Canadian Reptile Expo. Greg West at Cornell's World provides some of the best caging in all of North America and is a leader in custom cages from PVC to glass terrariums, as well as all the reptile supplies you would need from Herpstats, ReptiRad heat panels. Even he carries heat tape, but then he also carries all your good cleaning supplies from F10 to what is it? Is it chlorhexidine? And anything else you'd possibly need from any of your major brands, from Arcadia to Zoomed to Exoterra. He carries everything. And he's pretty easy to work with and can work with you on basically whatever you want to do, from racks to cages to, yeah. And then with the Western Canadian Reptile Show, the next show is being held at the Acadia Center Rec Complex in Calgary, Alberta, April 19th to 20th, and then there's a couple other shows later on in the year in Medicine Hat in June, and then the big Calgary show is in the third weekend of August at the Seven Chiefs sporting complex out there in Calgary. So yeah, you got to go check those out and place your order on Cornell's World today. Awesome.
Very well done, very well done. You know what I like, actually, when you listen to the MJ show where they just they kind of cut it in the middle. It's not a bad thing if you prefer it in the start or not. But anyway, thank you, Greg West. Thank you, Cornell's World. And now back to our feature recording. I don't know what the heck to say. So sorry, Eric. I kind of wanted to go into. Can you give us just because you haven't been on a podcast in a long while, just a quick story. You don't need to go really in depth of how you got into. I'm going to assume mainly snakes. And then just a quick overview of your collection, and then I'd love to go into your carpets, your reds specifically. This is like the main topic I want to chat about, and then maybe scrubs. So if you don't mind, just story and collection.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in Puerto Rico, born and raised. I had a fascination for reptiles all my life because I was surrounded by them. I know lizards and Bordeconopsis racers, and from time to time a Puerto Rican boa would appear. I remember clearly one day we were driving, there was one on the street, and sadly people killed them back then more than now, it looks like, which is good. and my dad wanted to save it, and we put it in the back of the pickup truck. He drove somewhere out, help it out, let it release. And then from that point forward, with the help of Steve Irwin, I just got more and more into them. And I wanted to go into veterinary school, but I didn't want to do cats and dogs, so I was thinking maybe I would go and be a reptile vet. In that whole research, I needed to go to the United States. I applied for college in the U.S., ended up going to Iowa State. From there, I liked insects more, to study insects more than I liked, that I wanted to go into being veterinary for various other reasons. While I was in college, I didn't really keep snakes. Well, I had a ball python that was gifted to me, and I kept it hidden in the dorms, like Owen used to do, reptile style. And I had some carpets also. So I started around 2007, and I out in the Muriel Python Radio forums. And I acquired a Lemke, really gorgeous Lemke animal that I called Azula. She was kind of like slate blue, weird olive green. She was gorgeous. And she was kind of like my Lemke foundation on one side. And then I met a guy named David Poppy, I think was his name. And he worked a lot with, not with Lemke, with the Madame Blueberry guy. Forgot his name, Will Leary. And he got a lot of stuff directly from him. And one of the pairs that he made was Madame Blueberry Red Jag to another guy called Mr. Big, Madame Blueberry Jag Sib, they used to call it. It was just a normal looking red, not a Jag. And he gifted one of the animals he produced. And then from that point forward, I'm like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to work on refining reds. My goal was never to look the mode of inheritance or any of that. So I had my core pair, which were those two. Graduated college, paired those two in 2012. While that was happening in the back end, I was keeping or looking and kind of acquiring my West Indian Boa collection of Calabothus. I never wanted to necessarily breed them. It was always a thing of like, these are a boa they're very important in my heart. I grew up with the Puerto Rican boas and living in the Caribbean, so I wanted to have one of each big island. And I met Jeff Murray through emails and forums and kinksnake.com, which I've never seen him. Everything has been internet. Jay Wagner is another one that I've met, also through socials, and he's helped me out. And through them, and other great people in the West Indian Boa community, I was able to acquire my first West Indian Boas, were the Cuban Boas, which I still have one of them. Then I acquired Puerto Rican Boas, I believe, was the second one. And then Jamaican Boas, a pair of Dominican Boas, which they gave me a litter, and I have one left. I sold the parents. Berry Island Boas, and I kept a few of those. But right now I have the big islands. I have Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, Berry Island, and that's it for my Calabothus collection, which I think I'm going to close it as that. I actually have some animals that I'd like to move and just keep those, again, as nice pets. The big female Cuban, I built a catio and just put it on my room, and she uses the whole thing and she loves it. So after graduated and I started building my coastal collection, I pretty much acquired another animal from Aaron Buhali, and this was a jag that he used to call, I don't remember the name of him, Cool Ruin. And he was gorgeous. He very unique jag, kind of like a almost like ocelot patterns in the side, almost not ocelot, and like a nice stripe going down the middle, but not like tiger or jack tigers were. And from those three, I pretty much kept breeding and keeping holdbacks and breeding back, and that pretty much is what I have right now. I added Russian Jackapari Depot line, which is a fantastic line. Very, just it gives that pop to whatever you put into it.
So are the what is it? So with the Yakapori Depot stuff, is that the Russian Tiger line stuff, or is that
Yes.
different?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that is the Russian Tiger line. Yep. I used to call it before it was Yakapori Depot. It was called Russian Tigers, and I guess that's what I use. Same as like Madame Blueberry, but nobody really knows. Madame Blueberry Tiger became just a name for anything that's striped, so on and so forth.
I think there's only a few Russian tigers left, right? I know Eric
Yes.
has a pair, at least a pair anyway. Do you only have one? Are you able to produce Yakapuri to Yakapuri?
So I got my female, which is the one that Eric Burke has actually. So I sent my female to Eric Burke in 2023 because he has, I think, two boys, or he has he has a pair, and the male I think is from Owen. So I sent him my female also to see if we can make pure Yakapori Depots. So
That's
my
what I
female
was
has
trying to
been
figure out.
there.
I knew there wasn't many.
Yeah, and to my knowledge, the only people willing to breed them, that's it. I know a few years back, I
Eric
knew
used
of
to actually put snakes together to breed them.
them together. He
The
only
other
has
Eric.
until this. Yeah. If he's listening, he only has until this season. I want that girl back. I have plans for her. So if it doesn't happen this year, no pressure, no pressure.
Tell him to send a boy with her too at the same time. This way you can breed them.
He should. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And
Maybe
then
Owen can throw in a roughie in that as well.
no, I don't want any more snakes. I'm good. Right
That's a
now,
good answer.
I'm to the point where I want to have like core breeders, and then maybe one or two holdbacks that I'm kind of keeping in. I'm probably going to dig in more into the Azantic project and kind of into one or two more generations of that. But I feel like my reds, credit to me back in the back, my reds have a unique look, and if you see them, you're like, okay, that's different. Either that's a caramel or a hypo, or that's one of Eric's reds. So I feel like I'm good, and I that was my goal. Bring them to a point where everyone's like, yes, these are great, and that enough people are looking for them, and I feel like I've gotten there. So I'm gonna spread what I have. If Ish makes babies, he's my what you call it. I tuck him under my wing and show him my things, and hopefully he carries the torch of reds and keeps producing more and better ones, and I can let go of things that I would have considered holdbacks to other people that also want to make even better reds, and just kind of have it grow that way. I feel satisfied with that. Then focus on these antics and just sit back and enjoy it. I got a lot of things outside of reptiles that I've been doing. They take a lot of time, like biking. If you're gonna bike 50 miles, it takes like 4 hours. So I want to spend more time doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to have Ish on soon too, because he has like
Yeah.
a similar collection to yours.
Nice. I would love to talk.
He would be good. So let's talk about the reds. So who started the Reds? Was it you? Where? How did it pop up? You want to give me the history that you can give me as much as you can on the Reds, and then describe the mutation. I'm just going to confirm the Reds for anybody who doesn't know. It's all from the coastal carpet python, right? Just to confirm. So if you want to give me
Well,
the go for it.
yeah. So with that, there was a red jungle that was pure jungle that popped out by Balin a long time ago, and it was bought by some other guy. I forgot his name. Also old school. I don't think he's in the reptile community anymore. And I don't remember what happened to that. And that was supposed to be pure jungle reds. The color was awesome. I think the last podcast that Ish made with NPR, they talk about it. So if anyone's curious, you can go look it up there. So the reds, I think they were first popped up in the Jag gene, or intertwined with Jags, if I'm not mistaken. And somehow either that or they were bred into Jags, one of those things. And then it was brought here, and I think Balin, Will Leary, and then the doctor that's doing the genetic testing, I forgot his name. He
Ben Morrell?
Yes, Ben Morrow. He was the first one to throw out the name red hypos because he believed it was a type of hypomelanistic trait, which I also still believe in that. We can go into that. Then from there, because sometimes it popped up into pairing animals that did not look red or did not look red as babies, it was always thought like there's could be a hidden gene. It could be recessive, or it could be what was the other one? Polygenetic, because it kind of looked like you had some animals that had a little bit more red than others, and it kind of looked like a gradient. And unless you had a very strict, oh, yep, no red into that or red into that, it was kind of weird. I later found out recently, actually, that coastals are very, very, very diverse. Even when I have F4s, F5s, siblings, and they're close related, and I still have a huge diversity. That's one. Two, the red pigment or red coloration, I believe, is separate from the red gene. So you can see it as caramels or hypos, but there's some animals that kind of have like a copper tinge to them, and they're not necessarily reds. Lemke's, I've noticed, also kind of look reddish when they hatch, but they might not be reds. So I'm trying to have a clear definition when I see one hatch. It's like, yep, this is a red, this is not. Then after they shed for a few times, it's kind of difficult to tell on those until they get older. So
Can
Leary,
I just ask, sorry. When you talk about red, just to confirm, it's more about when they're born, they have that red color, right? Like a West Papuan carpet would. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
all, I guess, Variegata, when they're born, they're that really nice red color, and they all lose that red color. But the idea is that this is a coastal that's born red. Is that where we're going?
It's and I want people to not think of the red of a Bredls or red of a chondro. It's like a terracotta, a more intense variegata red. So all the Harrisoni hatch red, or that red tinge, but it's like if you took that up a notch. It's not like bright red. And the other one is, I get it. I wouldn't have called them reds. If it was up to me, I would have called them pastel carpets because it behaves. The gene kind of looks and behaves the same as pastel ball pythons. So that, and they look pastelish, like that. That's the color that they kind of have. So I would have just kept that. Yeah. So you can, especially the eyes are very reddish, and this is one of the Russian outcross. So after people, I think caramel came down, and caramel was a very black and white. Yes, this is a caramel. No, this is not a caramel. And because of that, I think people kind of gave up on doing anything with the reds, selecting it or making it better. And it's like, yeah, here we have a mutation now that it's more black and white and it's better to predict than these reds that can be washy-washy. How about if we just focus more on that? And I think reds kind of took a back seat. And that's also why I wanted to select them, because I wanted to prove that, yeah, you can select anything to look wonderful, and these reds have the potential or to be as good, if not better, than caramels. And to me, it was all about background color. I wanted to breed it to a line that didn't have a lot of black, because that black, if I feel like if it's too deep, it tends to wash out or the color. Or I've seen also reds that hatch nice and red and they look good, and then the black comes in and it kind of masks all those colors. So I wanted to keep that, and that's why I selected Lemke, because Lemke doesn't. It's kind of like a weird. I don't want to call them hypos, but their blacks aren't solid, and they kind of also look like that ghostly appearance or cold colors, I guess. And that's that's the history of red, I guess.
No, that's awesome. It's good to hear. So the next two questions down I want to go with the reds is one would be what's the mode of inheritance, and have you done enough test breeding to kind of figure it out? And if you haven't, what are you leaning towards? And then, you know what, I'll hold the next one for after that. Let's figure that one out first.
So I alluded that at first people thought it was incomplete dominant, and that was kind of what it was leading the race. And even up until a few years ago, that's what I believed it was, just because of the variation within the clutch was so big, and there's animals that were kind of in the fence of being reds, kind of not. I tried to be very like, okay, this animal's pretty, so that has this price. This animal's not so pretty, has this price. It didn't really matter if they were intense red or not, just because I didn't feel safe being like, oh, this has the gene, this is not. Anyways, then thanks to Ish, he helped me have some test breedings to animals that for sure would not have any red into them. Because one of the things that you need to do all these test breedings is space and a lot of girls. And I didn't have either. And the real estate that I had for cages was to make this gene prettier, not to find out what it was. So Ish came in and he's like, hey man, I have these animals that don't for sure are not related to reds. They're not going to throw in reds. Let's just make some test breedings. He took Gunther, which is the MBB red jag that he has from me on loan, and he put it to a jungle, and he put it to a coastal from Nick Mutton. And Nick Mutton doesn't want to work with reds because it's hard to detect. If he puts it into an animal that he's going to later breed it to caramels and then breeds it here, and then, it's all mixed up, and he didn't want to have that headache. So we know that there's no red in that. And all of them came out red. All animals were red. Every single animal that I paired Gunther to has always been a red baby. And not like, oh, I can't tell. It's like clearly red and really bright. So I always had a hunch, okay, if he doesn't produce, he's been breeding for a while now. And if he never has produced any non-reds, he's a super. And then I made some test breedings over here on this side of things that I didn't think were, or I thought were supers. I've had things come out that aren't red. Another one that I did was siblings from the same clutch. One was red, one wasn't. If it was polygenetic, those two siblings should have given me the higher chance of getting that range in color that you would have gotten if it was polygenetic, or that mosaic, big, small, all that stuff. Or if it were recessive, I go for it.
So, did you ever consider breeding Gunter, which you're considering a super or a, let's just, so he would be a homozygous incomplete dominant. Have you ever considered breeding him to one of his offsprings, which would be technically at that point just a regular, like an incomplete dominant, but would only have it as a heterozygous on one gene? Because if you bred the father back to one of his daughters, you should have 50% of the clutch. Actually, no, that's completely wrong. You would still have all reds. That would actually not answer anything. How about breeding a sibling to a normal then? That should give you the 50-50, right? Has that been done?
Should give me the. Another thing we're gonna do is possibly doing that, right? Breeding one that's a sibling to him. I have some over here, and then breed it to a non-red. See if that happens. And then I also have this year two that are supers. So maybe a super. Nothing else weird should come out, right? Should all be reds. So just honestly, it's still gonna be kind of weird, and some are gonna be like, squint your eyes, is this a red? Just because I noticed that in the back end, I've also been line breeding for really nice not reds, and when they hatch, you're like, okay, is it, or is? And I have, and I can send you a picture later, a head Azantic that looks like it could, like it hatch, and you're like, is it? But it doesn't have a red belly, and it doesn't have red eyes.
And it's would the Exantic minimize the red that's possibly coming through, though, because technically Exantic's reducing some of the red pigmentation in itself? So it could be like a full red, but then it's because het Exantics can also, as we know now, some hets are visual basically, and so
and
it's
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't look like it's a het. I've had hets before, and like you said, it looks like a washed out red. Although this year I hatched this crazy looking bright red. I've never hatched anything that red from a het Azantic red pairing. So I'm still, and with the eyes of an Azantic. So I'm like, what if, like you said, the Azantic gene should mute everything out, and it should make everything washed out and ghostly, right? So you should have more grays or pinks, grayish pinks, but he hashed out really bright. So I'm waiting to see if it's like a delayed effect, because reds tend also to have a delayed effect. They kind of go through this color. All carpets have a color change, but reds go from being really bright, and then they get to year 2, and then they kind of browned out, and you're like, oh, this is it. And then they shed again, and they shed all their black. So they ghost out throughout. So maybe this animal's gonna do that, maybe not. I don't know. He just hatched, so we'll have to find out. To answer your question, we now are leaning more towards incomplete dominant. I have a bunch of sheds that I want to send out to make that more official. Also, if it was polygenetic, breeding it to a recessive mutation would have also kind of made things funky, and it still looks pretty straightforward. It's like seeing caramels. It's like, is it a super? Is it not? Some animals you're like, is it not really? So I might have to have like a quick clear cut. It's like, okay, this is it, a red. This is not, and not just label the ones that I clearly know are reds. And if another one it's a red and it breeds, and it's then good for the whoever gets it, right? Hopefully it doesn't mess up their breeding. Now, what's in the future? I think Ish is going to make more test breedings of some of the animals that he produced this year, and I will make some, and hopefully with Ben's shed, we'll have a more clear picture of what this gene is. And it's very dear to Ben's heart, so I'm sure he'll be very excited to know also.
Yeah, that'll be really cool to hear. It's kind of funky when you think about it, how like coastal morphs is like, well, you got the Exantic Nick thinks is more of like an incomplete dominant, right, with the visual hets kind of thing. And then you got 100% the caramels. Incomplete. Yeah, right. And then you got the caramels, which are also like, you get supers that are not supers and whatnot, right? And then hypo, I'm sure, is the same as the caramel to an extent with that stuff as well. So it's funny how like so it's like you almost came up with your own line of caramel to an extent, or maybe even better, because it's like you're saying, because like seeing like the red stuff, right? It's almost more funky than the just a straight up caramel kind of thing.
Yeah. So my next question, which I really wanted to kind of go down that, is are you able to try to tell me or describe to me the difference between a caramel, a hypo, and your reds, or how you would differentiate one from the other? So I work with a lot of caramel and a lot of hypos. I have Exanthics. I've got a lot of combos of each, including the thing you should never do in is mixing hypo and caramel. Trust me, I've got it all, and I've bred a lot, and I've had to held them all back for 2 years to finally figure out what they are, which was horrible. So I always hear the reds is the exact same thing. You don't mix them with anything else because you're just creating a gigantic problem, right? So if I was to show you a caramel, a hypo, and a red, could you identify them as a neo? Could you identify them as an adult? Like, is it, are you able to kind of go down that route? See, because I don't work with reds, so I can't tell you. I can tell you I can see the difference between a caramel and a hypo very easily as an adult, and as neos somewhat. It's a bit harder. It's easier after a few sheds.
I guess let me ask you this: how difficult was to know what was caramel hypo, what was hypo, what was caramel within that clutch? Once you grew them to 2 years, was it that clear cut, or were you still having doubts on some of the animals?
So let's just say I had some doubts. I had an idea and I wrote it all down. Then I did a 3-hour phone conversation with Nick Mutton, video camera, and he went through my entire clutch with me because I wanted to be certain. And I'd say overall, everything he told me, and I had 10 animals to go through, I wrote them all down. There's only one of those animals that I sold. All the other ones that are still with me are with my buddy Sham. So purely because I wanted to keep them all, now I have super caramel hypos, I have super caramel hypo tigers, I've got caramel hypo tigers, and they're all head exanthic too. My entire clutch is head exanthic, so trust me, I'm going to create even a worse headache for myself when I breed those to each other, which they're all at their 2-year mark now. So were they easy? I mean, somewhat, because there's some markers for the hypos. There's definitely markers that you can tell, right? Like around the neck, around the head, the black pigmentation is just different. It's different than the caramel, I find. Like the caramel, like to me, the caramel just has less and less black pigment, when the hypo, it's more like a diminish each pigment. Does that make sense? Like it washes it out and it diminishes it. To me, they look very different. Usually a hypo ends up to be much lighter, in my opinion, than a caramel, but both have a very different and beautiful look. So I'm just curious to see what your observation is with the reds.
So my observation is limited because I've only kept reds and I've only kept coastals. So I've never hatched caramels or hypos. I only seen them. I've probably seen caramels at shows, but I've only seen hypos on pictures, so I honestly don't know. But to that point, to what the point that you were making with your animals, I think it's going to be very difficult. And maybe some people would be able to tell them apart. I don't think I would, because I don't know about the other two. I do call these three like the hypo complex, because they do diminish the black color, and they have that kind of, from the same tree. But I feel like reds are more like hypos than caramels are like hypos. What you were describing, where they still have that black, but the black is muted, that's what reds do. The black is still there, but it's not, like that. That looks like one of my reds. So I wouldn't be able to tell you.
So to give you an idea, this, I'm trying to figure out how to get the lighting to actually show it properly. How do I get the head in there? I don't know. Anyway, so this was a Hypo Super Caramel Head Exanthic. It has a tiger parent, but no tiger. Where the heck is my camera? There you go. You see the colors?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that the same, like the black is still there, but it's not black anymore. It's like a very deep purple. That's what red also looks like. And as they get older, sometimes that purple turns into lavender some days, like what Harrisoni does. And those, I feel like they have a more palette of colors than caramels do. I think they're prettier than caramels. That's just me. And then hypos are nice, but I think hypos lack. Well, the ones I've seen lack that contrast. They would be really nice in a Xanthic probably, but they like the contrast that reds have, because reds still have that saturation, even though they're still in hypoish, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like, as like a non-Morele keeping guy, like I think the Red Project has just always been like cool to hear the stories of, right? Because like you guys have put you yourself have put so much work into it, and trying to get line breeding and everything into it, and it's just like a cool story behind those animals, which is also why it's just so cool, right? It's like the West Indian Boas and stuff like that, where you hear the stories behind these animals, and there's only a couple lines, and these few people have been trying to like prop it all up, kind of thing. Like I really like hearing those stories that go along with the animal.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and that gives me warm my heart, because I've done this, for myself. I just wanted some really pretty snakes, and I wasn't seeing that being produced, and I wanted to imitate what the southern coastals were, because we didn't have Brisbane at that point, and if we did, they were really expensive out of my budget. So that rich southern color, that's what really attracted me, and I wanted to make my own snakes that looked like that. And I'm glad that you like it.
Oh, I think it's awesome. I love when people like take something and just go with it, especially when it's a morph that's not really understood, or nobody really has it, right? Like, I can tell you the one that I've played with, that I had the ocelot gene pop out into some of my jungles, and it took me 4 years to figure out exactly what it is, and we've done, I think, 17 test breedings in total, and the only test breedings that we haven't done is with supers that are bred from an ocelot zebra to ocelot zebra, and we got the supers, and I have them now together, and they're not locking up, but those are both from, the two of them are both from ocelot zebra parents, and I think it'll do nothing, because I think supers to supers will produce supers, and you don't see the ocelot gene. But it took me forever. It took a lot of breedings to try to figure out exactly how it is, and from all the breeding, I can say with 99% certainty the Ocelot gene is incomplete dominant. So,
So is a super
And
ocelot like the really really nice ocelots, or what would the super ocelot be?
so
I guess we need to have like a show just talking about those
yeah,
at some point. But
yeah.
So, like, what is a super ocelot compared to an ocelot? Honestly, I would say more dots are more of the bullseyes everywhere. But all my animals are like my ocelotted patterned zebra are crazy heavy patterned by nature. So I can't tell you, but I can tell you the way that it breeds. If I breed an ocelot to a completely unrelated German line jungle that has nothing to do with it, 50% of the clutch is ocelot. The other 50 is just banded normally. Right? So I've done that test pairing. I've bred ocelot to ocelot from the German outcross, and I've gotten the 25% basically of normals, 50% ocelot, and then I've got the supers. Right? So to me it breeds like an incomplete dominant, but the super form I can't tell what it looks like, but it's like the difference between a super caramel and a caramel, right? It's not that obvious. So that's my opinion. That's how it is, and there is no more breedings I can do to prove it out more or not. To me, that's how it is. So I was just saying, like, I get how it is to work up, and you need to do so many of those breedings. The only advantage I had was that they're jungles and they all sell really well, right? So I didn't mind making more because to me, jungles is like your cash cow. It's the one you can sell really easily to pay for your entire hobby and to pay for all my coastal projects. Because coastals they're probably my favorite, and they're the ones that I have the most amount of. So yeah, it's the one I push the most, and they're not. I'd say like coastals, they're cool. I love them, but they don't sell as well as jungles, no matter what you do.
Yeah,
but we
they
can
don't.
we
And
can
that's
change that though up here.
we should. Yeah, we definitely should. And that's it takes time, right? It takes a lot of dedication. That's why people don't just grab animals and make a project out of it, right? Because if you want to really tease it out, and these animals take 3 4 years to get big, and it just keeps getting exponential, and yeah, it's tough. But that's nice. That's cool. A question I had about those ocelots: did it popped out in your zebra, or did it popped out just doing two jungles that are heavily patterned? You just didn't see it.
So it popped out from one pairing from we have a Favel line, which is a jungle that came from Jeff Favel, that is one of the breeders from a really real old time, and he bred some of the animals that end up becoming outcrossed to a lot of jags.
Has some of his stuff also was I think the gamma stuff.
That's exactly so.
And he also started that line of those diamond red light stonewash
so
things too.
The Favel were the jungles that were outcrossed to, well, hybridized, I should say, to the diamonds and all that, and made the gammas and made the the Bredley crazy shit that Don does, right? Those scourges. But the Favel line jungles was the pure stuff that was all crossed to that. So it came from one of those jungles, which my female is, she's 12 years old now, and she's probably one of the most prolific carpet python I've ever known. She's had 8 clutches, and her first clutches were all in the 40s, 40 eggs a year, and I'd have like 38 to 39 babies. If I went to count, she's probably had over 200 babies that have hatched and raised. She's got more of her babies around Canada than you can imagine. So anyway, it was to a zebra male, and I've bred both of them, and from what I can tell, I think it comes from the Favel girl.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking is because that's kind of what Reds, how they appeared out of nothing or whatever. Like, you don't know, and that's why people started thinking, well, if it appears like that and it's more vague than ocelots, then polygenetic or something else. Just to clear, like, yeah, that could be a big confusion, right?
It could be. My thinking though is, you've been line breeding for so long, right? So that the trait is probably incomplete dominant, but
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
got a
yeah.
big polygenic aspect to it, right? Because if you keep breeding the same animals, you're
Right,
gonna breed all the same phenotypes that they have, right?
right,
And especially if you're the one picking your holdbacks, you're like, I love it when the sides are a little bit more open, or the banding is
right.
wider, or
Hmm.
all that. So you are slowly pigeonholing your look
Right,
of all your lines.
right,
So
right.
there probably is a certain amount of line bred trait that you, even if it'd be like subconsciously, you're probably doing it too, right?
Right, right. Yeah,
So
some breeder's bias or whatever
yeah,
on my part. But
like
I mean not me, but the thought of like when it was bred or whatever, and you keep that in line and you run with it. And like you said, it needs a lot of time and a lot of females to tease it out, and that's where we're at now. Thinking that it could be it. You're right. It's probably complete dominant.
I know a lot of people that I'll bring it back to the zebra gene because it's super easy. Some people breed their zebras, and when they pop out, you're like, is that a zebra or just a heavy
Mm,
pattern
yeah,
normal
yeah.
jungle, right? And you're like,
Right,
I don't know. He's got to breed it to another one like that. If he pops out super zebra, you're like, okay, then it is, right?
right,
When I've bred him, I've always only kept the busiest of the busiest pattern. That when a zebra pops out, there's zero doubt about it, right? It's not just
right.
like my zebras are so crazy heavy pattern that it's just obvious. So, but why is it like that? Because I think I was looking at it. This year, I'm on generation 5 of jungles.
Whoa,
So
wow.
of my jungles, and I was like, this is crazy. Like if those, but the supers are generation 5. If they were actually to breed, that'd be the next one. So, but just over years, it doesn't take that many generations, right? Like whenever you listen to
Hmm.
Nick Mutton about his ivory project, didn't take him that long to get to that stage. So I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea where I'm going with that, but yeah. um,
Yeah.
do you have somewhere you want to go with this, Mike? Or
Well, this is more carpet talk, so it's more on you.
all right, I'll keep going. Then I was gonna say. So the other aspect you keep talking about is exanthic. So, what are you working with exanthic in? I'm guessing it's again coastals, and where are you trying to take it?
Yeah, so it is coastals. I wanted to add something to the red, uh, other than just stripes or banded, and I always thought that because they have that ghostly look, adding an Axanthic to it would increase that even more. And I thought it was just going to be a really cool mix, anyways. So back in 2015, I acquired a red Axanthic Jag bred by Nick Mutton, one of his last, and he sold off that female, and because it was breeding reds in one of those offsprings, I acquired one of those offsprings. And then I acquired a female red Axanthic from Kohler. They're all from the same line. All the animals come from Paul Harris. So there was another animal that was throwing reds. One of the red females. I acquired one of his babies that he produced. And then from that I built up hets, and now I have hets that are stripes because the Kohler girl had kind of striped, and others that were banded because they were bred to Katniss, which was my F2 bred. And now I have a clutch from last year of head to head. And the ones that are not reds are pretty clear to know if it's heads or they're not heads. But the ones that are red are kind of, it's difficult. Like, is it not? It might be too, is it too bright? There's some that are clear, but I hatched some hets that looked like they are as Axanthic, because Axanthic's in complete dominant. And as they grew up, they lost a lot of their pigment, and they kind of looked Axanthic, even though they are heads. So I want to, like, I took reds to a point where it's like, yeah, this is Hernandez reds. I want to make Axanthics to a point where, like, yep, this is red Axanthic from Erick. So I want to drive that, and I want to have stripes because I want to give tiger Axanthics a run for their money. And then I want to have bandits because I like bandits a lot, and I think they look really nice.
You're gonna struggle with Tiger Xanthic is by far one of the nicest morphs. That's a big feat. I like it.
Yeah, and one thing that I like about the stripes that I'm working with, there's no tiger in it. It's come from Lemke line, and because it doesn't have a lot of black, a lot of the side patterns show off. The side color pattern show off a lot more. And I think that's going to complement the Axanthic way more because I don't want an animal, to me anyways, I don't want a black and white animal. I want also the grays and the greens and all these muted colors that come with the Axanthic that you don't really get if you have an animal that has a lot of black. And a lot of the tigers and the really nice super tigers that are like tree stripes, there's a lot of black in between, and I think it kind of like they look nice, very gray slated color, but I think you're losing a lot of what the Axanthic can bring. So my stripes are not like that. They have a lot of their color and not a lot of black. So I think once I make visual Axanthics or super Axanthics, whatever, reds, I think that's going to complement very, very nice. It's probably going to be a pain in the ass also to keep to look which one is Axanthic, which is not. Which I've kept that clutch from last year, and hopefully in a couple months, a couple more sheds, I will have a better clue of what's what.
I wish we got rid of the super terminology. It should just be a het Axanthic, and it should be a homozygous Axanthic. Because when you say it like that, we just know it's just so much clearer. So I heard you use the term super tiger, and you got me confused. And I've heard it now a couple of times. The heck is this? Is the super tiger the idea of the tri-stripe having the side striping too? I think I heard it at one point, but I mean, a tiger is a polygenic trait. Like, it doesn't even make sense
all
to
the
add
time
the
on
super.
MPR used to.
That's
where they always used to say super tiger a lot.
God, man, I'm like, what the heck does that mean? Like,
we're gonna get a message from Eric or Rob Stone or Owen here after the show or something.
I guess
we got rid of that term 5 years ago.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. To all the Morelia people, family, I'm sorry. I have all the old terminology from the forums. Super doesn't mean anything. You're right. It's polygenetic.
Super tiger sibling.
Right, super tiger. Yes, thank you. The thought was that yes, the nice tree stripes unbroken. That was the super form of the tiger, which it's not. It's just
That's what I assume, nice. But it's not used often. So I wanted to confirm on that one.
Yeah.
The next place I wanted to go for your Axanthic with red. So for me, when I produce Axanthics, the best method is the eyes. If you look at the eyes, you've got a brown eye for a het or just a normal, and you have that crispy gray, completely gray, almost palish white eye. It's super easy to tell. Now, when you add red to the Axanthic, homozygous Axanthic, how do you tell? Do you still have the white eye with the red belly? Is that the idea, or what else do you see?
That's the thing that we're getting into now. I have some. If you go to my Instagram page, I have one where there's the really nice red with another sibling. Very contrast between those two animals. If we can put it up, I can kind of show, and you guys can tell me your opinion on it, and maybe I can, it can help me out. But there's some animals that are really bright red.
You able to do that, Mike?
Maybe if you could send it to me on Facebook or something. I can email it to myself.
You think there would be animals that would be more grayish color, but they have that Axanthic eye, right? So I honestly have my doubts whether or not the eye in the red could be. This is not a very good photo for the other one's eye. Let's see if I find it real quick, I will send it to you on Messenger.
No,
And
that's perfect because I'm just curious to kind of see, and even if you're unsure, right, that's where it gets interesting. Like, I remember posting all my pictures and being like, anybody want to take a shot, and then I get more messages of people yelling at me saying, why'd you breed caramel to hypo? Well, because I'm curious, right? Somebody's got to do it. I
yeah,
wanted to know. So,
yeah,
and I bred. Just so we're clear, that pairing that I had done, I'm gonna keep talking so it gives you a chance to find your pictures. So that pairing that I had done a super caramel exanthic, which that male, if ever you're curious, is in this the newer carpet python. The more complete carpet python in the morph section. So I bred him to a caramel hypo tiger. So my goal was to see what the heck I would get, and I was expecting to get a lot more super caramels, but it made some interesting thing, and I think we all need to do those pairings to figure out, like, maybe after all your pairings, you're going to figure out there's no way to tell a red from an exanthic, because, like Mike said, technically an exanthic is a decrease in red pigmentation, right? So it's kind of tough to figure out what's going on, but the lovely thing about exanthism is that you never ever remove. Well, okay, so the lovely thing about being exanthic is that it's not exanthic. It's hypoxanthism, right? Exanthic doesn't actually exist in carpet. It's hypo, so you're simply decreasing, you're not removing. So it's really hard to be able to tell, because you could have a het exanthic remove 15 to 30%. You could have a het exanthic that removes 60% of the red. So that's where that variance is so huge that I'm very curious to see how you're going to identify the reds in an exanthic, because I feel like you're kind of like battling yourself with the two genes. Like, one is removing the other. So, but I love you doing it, because it's not me that's got to do the struggle.
sure. Another thought was that red doesn't work in the same pigment as caramel, if that makes sense. It's think about it like a caramel albino that still has the bright colors. That I don't know, but someone floated that around. So if you make that into the eyes, the one on the right, the really bright one,
Can you
to
zoom
me
in, Mike?
has exanthic eyes.
I think that's as far as it's gonna go right now.
Yeah, that's
But,
good. You can see the eye on it. So what do you think?
oh yeah,
To me,
I see what you mean.
Okay, so Eric, can you just tell me which each animal is? I'm gonna, because that one looks
sure.
almost
They both
albino
look
correctly.
phenomenal.
Like it is freaking phenomenal.
Right. So the really bright one was from head to head, red axanthic to red head axanthic to red head axanthic. What the mom was a pairing that I did to Katniss and in axanthic. Homozygous axanthic. So I knew all of them were heads. And then the father to this was the same thing, but the female was the one from Collar, also homozygous axanthic, and that was the stripe, which is cool because none of them turned out striped. They turned out really banded like this too. So this could be two things. Could be a head axanthic super red or a super red axanthic, and I don't know. But if you look at it, like you said, it almost looked like a weird albino hypo thing. And the eyes, to me, scream like they're axanthic. The one next to it is one of his siblings from the same clutch, same pairing, and that one I think it's a het. The eyes are not as gray slated as the other ones, or the one next to it, and it is muted. Is not as bright, so you would think it would be even more muted. But as you alluded, if you're like deleting each other, is that what it makes when it's a super? That's why I'm keeping them all. I don't know.
That's a pretty
Yeah.
good point.
That's my
These
thought.
look,
Yeah.
I just can't get over how like awesome these look.
So I'll be honest, when I look at that picture, if I didn't know what I was looking at, to me, the light red snake, honestly, it almost looks like when people do the blasphemous thing of breeding an albino Darwin to a Bredli, and that's almost what those babies will look like. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that 50% Bredli albino. I find they
Mm-hmm.
look like that. Like it's amazing, and I would agree. If I'm looking at the eyes, I would bet that the red one is Xanthic because I it's hard because I'm partially blind, and it does look pretty damn silver. And the one on the darker animal definitely has more of the brown eye.
Yeah, like they definitely seem to. I see what you guys mean now. Yeah, that would make sense, right? And the Exantic would make it more crisp too. Like I think Elise is trying to say.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of
Definitely.
sense.
And
So
my
is this?
idea was
Are these still
No, go for it,
neonates
sorry.
right now, or are these getting?
Yes.
Are these more older now?
these were hatched last year, so they're still in little 6 quarts, so they're still not big. They've had maybe 3 sheds, maybe 4 at most. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think,
my idea was I thought they were gonna come out looking like more like the hypoaxanthics, like kind of washed out reds, but not bright like this guy. So it threw me off. I honestly.
Yeah, you're gonna have to show some updated pictures in a year or two once these guys
Yeah.
get a little older, because that'll be cool to see the contrast too between what I'm gonna assume is just like a would you consider this one just like the non-exantic version of this guy, or would this be like a single gene
The
like
one
a
on
half
the
like a half
the-
red?
Xanthic.
yeah, heterozygous.
Okay.
And I sent you another picture with another of its siblings. That one is a non-red axanthic and him compared together. So you can see the difference in the contrast in a non-red axanthic versus what this guy could be.
So in this
The-
one, it's non-red. So the one is just not Xanthic at all, and the other one is the same as the other picture.
So the other one's the same as the other picture. The other one, I think it's an axanthic just because of the eye. I'll send you the picture of the that one. That one's showing the eye better in another picture, but it also has the axanthic eye as well.
Interesting. So you think that red is possibly, let's go with homozygous red then, which it's incredible. The difference is just phenomenal. So we're definitely going to chat after, Eric, about how you're going to send those to Canada. Cause,
Yeah, we will.
Because we need some of your representation in our side, and I'll tell you in advance, if I ever get some, I will not be mixing them with my caramels or hypos, because there's no way I could deal with all 3 genes at once. I would have to kill myself. There's no way I could figure that one out.
And you having experience with hypos, doesn't that look more like a hypo than a caramel? Like you can still kind of see where the black would be, but it's not there. You know?
So I'd say, if anything, if you look at one of the things with the hypos is the head pattern. If you look at the head pattern on hypos, the scalation is extremely washed out. Like like on a caramel, you've got the clear marks and the clear lines around the pigmentation. The hypos, it washes out the head pattern. So that's the main criterias. And when you talk about super caramels tend to have a marker on the side of their neck that you tend to see like a round little circle dot, and it's not 90%, it's about 95% accurate. So that's what I use to look like. I don't know, like obviously they don't have it, but if you look behind of the head of the only Xanthic, that's 100% a Xanthic eye, according to your pictures. If you look at that on the neck, that long white line on each of its side, in a super caramel, that will break up and literally there'll be a dot on one on the sides. And they almost all the supers, once you prove them out, tend to have that dot on the neck. Again, not all, but most do. And I think Nick's talked about it multiple times for that one. But each trait
is this the dot or no?
the dot on
It's
where
like
exactly?
you can see like there's where I'm circling on the head of the.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even know
Oh, is
where
it-
you're circling. Are you using your cursor? Because we can't see your cursor.
Yeah, I
Oh,
can't
okay,
see
I wasn't
cursor.
sure. Never
But
mind.
I like
But, like,
the
on the
attempt, Mike,
back
but
of
it
the-
didn't work.
I know. on the back of the head of the
Like kind of here
super
on
red.
the really red one.
Yeah, like,
I
would you
think I
consider
know
that
where you're
little?
So I would
or
say
no?
no. So it's a
Okay.
pretty obvious dot, and I'd have to go take some of my supers. It's something that takes a fine eye. So there are markers for the hypo as well. Nick is not ready to say it out loud, but he is working on that as well. So a lot of those genes tend to have those, and I'm curious to see if you were to observe enough and start breeding enough that eventually you'd start being like, hey, this is weird. Every time it's this, I see this, and then, kind of keep working with it and see if it works out or not.
Yeah, and just to go back on those two that I showed, I think those two are homozygous axanthics. One, you're super axanthics, homozygous axanthics, and one is a red and one is not. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I can see what you mean now, right? After you in the first one you
both
mentioned
have
that
the eye, right, and one is a red and one is not.
So I would 100% agree. I would debate on whether your red is homozygous axanthic,
Sure.
homozygous red too, or het red.
Mhm.
But
Right.
that is just crazy red. Like I'd be surprised if it wouldn't prove as a homozygous red.
Yeah, that's for that. I would be surprised as well. And then I would breed it to see if he's actually an axanthic or not. That would be interesting, or see how he develops. If he gets really muted or what. He's gonna be fun to watch grow for sure.
Oh yeah, like even if it's a head axanthic, like that's still pretty
Yeah.
cool. Like if it was even a head, it'd be like, okay, so what does a full axanthic one look
Right,
like?
right.
But like I don't know, it looks pretty phenomenal. So maybe it is just a full axanthic, and that's the whole package right there. Either
We'll
way,
find
though,
out
that's
in
gonna
a
be
few
cool.
years.
Cool to line breed, yeah.
He's
For sure.
he's a boy, so it'll be easier or faster, I guess, because he'll probably develop quicker. I don't power feed my animals at all. I have snakes that are 3 years old and they're still considered pretty tiny. So who knows? We'll see how long it takes, but I will keep everyone updated for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. Alrighty, Dom. Should we get into maybe some scrub talk now? Since
I'm good
I think
to
Lisa's in the
making
chat.
Lisa's
I'm
in
good
the
to make
chat.
the leap
Yeah,
and
she
leave
is.
the carpet pythons and go down the scrub. So you started out, Mike.
Alrighty.
Uh,
So, how did that whole... It's Nada you work with, right? The Tanimbar?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, like, how did that project start, and, like, what are you kind of working with for those guys?
I at that point I wanted to, I think it was 2014-15. I always liked scrubs, and I wanted to work with a scrub. Malucans were my high on my list, higher on a lot of us lists, to be honest. But I don't know why I didn't go down that road. Maybe they weren't coming in. It was 2015-14, so they wouldn't be like outrageously priced. But I decided to go into Nauta. I really like dwarfism, island dwarfism. That's something that in the biology and ecology of island dwarfism, I think it's pretty cool. So Nada was gravitating to that. I got a female from Dan Mulery, so my female is Walcott from Dan Mulery. And then I got she is patterned heterozygous axanthic, or patterned, I think she's patterned axanthic. She's heterozygous for patternless. That's what she's heterozygous for. And then I got a patternless xanthic from Nick Mutton. And that was my first pair. I kept them. The male passed away, sadly, when I was living in the apartment, but she's still with me. In 2020, the female just started ovulating. Like, I didn't cycle her, I didn't meant to cycle her. She probably cycled, my room cycles naturally. So she started swelling up, she started getting big. So I decided to pair them together, and that gave me a clutch. I didn't expect anything from it or anything hatching them. I just saw her giving me the shot, so I just took it. Out of those, there were 6 eggs. Not everyone was fertile. One hatched at the end, and it hatched, totally kinked it. And it hatched at day 54. I noticed there was a slit, and I cut it open, and there was a dead baby. Ever since then, that female has cycled every single year without me doing anything. Well, without me thinking I'm doing anything. Anyways, we'll go into that. And every year, either the snakes hatch. Well, not every year. The second year I did, they hatch kinked. Again, I had some infertils. Her third year, I hatched 4 out of 6 hatched. That year was the year that I moved to the apartment. 3 of them sadly died. I still have one of the females. And then she laid eggs in that apartment. That apartment was terrible. Everything that was in there didn't do well. So those eggs didn't go the distance. Last year, she gave me 12 eggs. And then out of those 12 eggs, 4 of them survived. And the others didn't survive because of my mistake. So going back to my first clutch, I saw that she slit the egg at day 54. So I assumed, okay, these don't go as long as other scrubs. So to my mistake, I started cutting them early, and way too early. So I taught some other people that bred these. There's a guy in Europe that breeds them pretty successfully. That's the other thing. Not a lot of people have been able to breed them. So it's kind of hard to talk to other breeders and what they've done and what not. Are they different? So 2 things that I noticed that were probably the mistake that I've been making in terms of hatching them or not hatching them successfully. Too hot. I think 87 is too hot for them. They probably incubate better at 86 to 85, more in the 85 range. And they go for longer. I would say 70 some days, 75, 79. So this year, if she keeps doing what she's been doing for the past 5 years, she would give me another clutch. And this clutch, I would let them hatch on their own, not touch them, put them on the bottom of the incubator, and just leave them alone. Because that last year's eggs were beautiful. All the babies were gorgeous. It was just my mistake, and I cut them early. And you could see because some were undeveloped. And the only babies that survived, I didn't pay attention if they were the ones that were on top or colder, are the babies that look bigger. Lisa has 1, so actually we're 5. Lisa has 1. No, 4. Lisa have 1, I have 3. I have 2 boys, 1 girl. So right now my group is 1 Xanthic patterned boy, the female that I got from Dan Muleri. The boy is an F1. The female walk-off from Dan Muleri. Baby from them from 2023, and then 3 babies from last year. And that's right now my group. My hope is to, this year, if everything goes well, keep 1 female from that. And then that's it. That's my group. It's close. If I can find another female somewhere to trade for genetics, that'd be great. But that should be it. And hopefully I have it figured out. And it's not that my female just likes to lay eggs. Who knows? So I would like to experiment and see if I can make other animals, other Nauta, grab it and lay eggs at least. And that would tell me, yep, I know what I'm doing. This is their pattern, or my female it's just fertile.
Yeah, that's pretty good success having eggs almost every year with those guys, especially for a python that's like a scrub python when people have a hard enough time producing them in general. But it sounds like you're keeping her at like a healthy size where she's not too big, right? She's not like, I know Tanimbar's are like a smaller one in general, so I'm assuming she's probably just a little bit bigger than a coastal kind of thing. Or how big is she?
So she is not big at all. And that's one of the key things that people need to keep in mind. Nara is a small snake. Nada is a dwarf snake. Can they get big? For sure. Would they lay eggs when they're big? They have, and you could, but I don't think you would get that success of having a smaller animal. My snake is, I'm trying to think. It's probably, you see the one that says subadult male Tanimbar on the bottom of your cursor. Keep going bottom. Yes, that one. So my female, maybe it's a little bit bigger than that, maybe by 6 inches, but not much. And they live in a stack. I forgot the name of the brand, but it's probably like a 3x3, 2-stack 3x3 cubes, and another one that's a little bit bigger. And I have them all stacked together, and they can go on and up. If the portals are open, right now they're closed. So she has 2 of those, and then she has the one at the bottom. And she thermoregulates as much as she wants. She's always been kept on lamp heat. I think that's another one that's important. They like to thermoregulate. They get to the temperature they want. They don't want any more, and they want them to go down at some point and go to room temperature. If you always keep them cooked, they won't see that swing in temperature in your room, or atmospheric pressure in the outside might be a little bit more difficult to correlate between the seasons. But I guess my key to success, if I think it's 2 things. One, like you alluded, is keeping them small. Don't keep them big. And how do I do that? I feed mainly birds, and I feed very sporadically, especially in the summer. In the summer, I don't feed them much. I feed them maybe twice in the summer, biggish meals, but I just make sure that they don't look skinny and dehydrated. Just keep them very lean. And then when the seasons start changing, that female stops being skittish and starts looking for food, actively perching and being very, like, when she attacks the food, she attacks the food. So now I know that I need to start feeding her heavy. And because she didn't get as much food in the beginning or in the year, up until now, and now there's an influx of food, that starts giving her the cues to start developing follicles. That development of follicles, I start putting the male in. I start seeing the interest in the male. The male was interested in her 2 months ago, around December. She was spurring, looking around. Now he doesn't want anything to do with her. Then she starts losing interest into food. She starts going back to being more skittish. She gets darker. The male doesn't want anything to do with her. I don't stop feeding, but I feed again sporadically. I fed her maybe yesterday. I fed her. Then before that, maybe I fed her last month. And once she sheds, she's done eating until she gives me eggs. And then I will give her a couple meals for her to come back if she needs them. And then she goes back to not eating as much. And I think that seasonality of food is what has been my success card, not necessarily temperatures. Because I've got her really cold, I've got her really hot, and she's always given the same results. What I haven't done is giving her consistent food or big meals throughout and see if she still goes, but I don't want to experiment that way. If I'm getting success, I just keep it at. That's why I would like to have other females to see if that theory is correct, that this species in particular prefers the cycle feeding to temperature cycle.
Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like you got it down to a pretty good science there, right? Like with the, I think that's how a lot of people, I think, overdo it, right? Where they're feeding too much and getting a little too hands-on with stuff while you're just putting them through the season, watching the animal, being a student of the serpent, as Erick would say. And, yeah, that's a fantastic summary of how you did it there. So with a question I had about the offspring that you produce from them, are you getting, because Tanimbar are another like kind of like Moluccans where there's exantics and patternless and all that. Are you, the babies you got, were they? Did you get a mix of it? Are they all normal, or are they all exantic, or kind of what have you seen so far?
I've hatched all morphs. In this clutch specifically, that's last clutch that I had, I've had patternless Xantic, which Lisa has a patternless Xantic male. I saw patternless Axanthic, Axanthic patterned, Xanthic patterns, and I assume also heterozygous for Axanthics. So I've seen all the gametes, and it's a nice spread. I'm trying to hold back pattern animals because they're the ones that are the least common in the hobby, and that's, I guess, my focus. Pattern Xanthic, Axanthic are cool, but the natural wild type pattern Xanthic is where it's at. I think they're like mini Moluccans, I guess.
Sorry to have to ask, but can you explain to me what the difference is between exanthic and xanthic? When you say xanthic, do you just mean regular coloration?
Yeah,
Not
yeah, pretty
lacking
much.
the. Okay.
Right.
Yes. So, okay, you're confusing me there. I was just trying to figure it out. Okay, so,
It's
I only have
for some
one
reason
pair.
the wild type.
Yep. No, go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead. I was just gonna say that for some reason in the hobby that the, if I'm not aware of it, forget my ignorance, but I've always seen it that Xanthic was the nomenclature that it was put in for wild type instead of just calling them wild type because they were really bright and yellow, and then the Axanthic.
That makes
Again,
sense.
I don't know if if Xanthic is actually like a mutation in itself, and there's another wild type. I've never seen it, but that's how I guess what
It makes sense. I'm not big in the scrub world, so I've never
Sure.
heard it called like that. So I'm just asking as a,
Maybe I'll text Steven.
intelligence. There you go. Maybe
Yeah,
Kush can
yeah.
explain. So the what I was gonna ask is I only have one pair of scrubs that is not at my house. If any bylaw officers are listening, because it's not legal here. But we have Axanthic patternless Marukis. And from what I can understand, it is the most common form for the Marukis. When it comes to Tanimbar, you're saying the more common form is the patternless Xanthic or the patternless Axanthic? What's the
the patternless
Which one is it?
Azing is the most common in the wild.
Okay, so
And
the hardest one
Axanthic-
to have would be a wild type fully patterned. That's something that's really hard to come by. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Correct.
Okay, just
Yep.
curious.
Yeah, and that's also
Uh,
goes with like the blue tongues in Tanimbar as well. I believe, like, if I'm
Okay.
not wrong, the Tanimbar blue tongues, which are actually more related to northerns. If I last week when or 2 weeks ago when we had Ron on and I looked it up a bit, it looks like somehow like the Tanimbar and northern blue tongues are actually like the same species or subspecies, but obviously they probably need to do more genetic work with blue tongue skinks in Indonesia. But apart from that, yeah, the Tanimbar, as well as probably some of the other islands, seem to, like, Axanthics just seem to be everywhere almost. Like the populations of these morphs, because like a Axanthic isn't really a detrimental gene, right? Like you can blend in as a silver snake just as easily as a Xanthic snake, right? So yeah, that's pretty neat. And honestly, like a
And-
nice silver patternless snake is cool, but also
Yeah.
getting a patterned one would be pretty neat too.
To my knowledge, I think it's because of deforestation, the Axanthic color tends to be better camouflage with no trees around, and better in that urban setting than having those bright colors.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty. And so you're keeping them in 3x3 cubes kind of thing? You don't want to go any bigger with that eventually, or what's your plan like long term? Like, do you want to, like you say your project's kind of capped out? Do you want to do anything different in terms of care and whatnot? Or
So,
are you
eventually-
gonna kind of keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So eventually that it's probably be next year. This female, I want to give her an upgrade. So I want to attach another bigger cage next to this 3 stack, and have that to be the main cage for that female, and then have her daughter move into her space, and then I have those all three interconnected. Um, she she used the entire all three cages, so I don't think she needs a bigger space, but I'm never gonna say no to give them a bigger space, and then have that grow out female that I have, and try and have them also go. And if I'm successful in having maybe a 2.3 group, be successful enough where I can be at the point that I am with the Reds, but with Nauta, be like, okay, now I have enough, and I can distribute it into people, and now they're common in people's collections, thanks to the works of Erick Hernandez. But we'll see what happens. That's my goal, anyways, and I'm not going anywhere. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like how you kind of keep things small. Like it's almost like my collection, where it's like I got a few different projects, but they're all just a few animals. Like sometimes I even feel like I should just like reduce another project and just do more or just the same, right? Just thinking about holdbacks and whatnot. Like stuff adds up quickly. It's like, oh, I started off with 2.2 or even 1.1, and then you're like, oh, I hold back a pair, and then maybe you breed them again, and then you're like, I should hold back that pair, and then all of a sudden you got 10, 12 snakes in that project, and you don't necessarily, like here with our market being so small, it's kind of like, I don't want to overproduce too much, so sometimes keeping it pretty narrow-minded, keeping it pretty straight kind of thing like you do, it's almost a good thing, and then you also don't have that overhead of like, oh, I got 200 snakes. It's like, I got 30 animals that are like my animals, and I can go in there and spend 10 minutes if I don't really feel like doing too much, or I can go spend 2 hours puttering at stuff, right? So
And feeders are expensive also, and especially now, rodents are really expensive. I'm not a good salesman either, so it for me, and I think for a lot of people, maybe having a small collection works a little bit better for the person and for the snakes as well. Yeah.
So I think if now maybe we want to pivot to West Indian Boas, where Dominic probably doesn't want to hear about it, but
you know what, boas I like. I love boas. I just don't understand the whole idea that they don't come in eggs. Like, to me, that just makes no sense. But I actually love boas, and I find it hard. I can follow boa conversation.
Oh yeah. I'm just busting your balls.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you are. All right, go for it. I'll put my nightcap on.
So with boas, so you got the Cubans, you got the Jamaicans, you got the Puerto Ricans, you got the Berry Islands. Berry Islands are nice. A few, was it last year or so? I was trying to get some Eleuthera from Steven, and it didn't end up working out just because like U.S. Fish and Wildlife wanted like either like the import export original documents or whatever for the original animals coming in, and like more information than what we could kind of get, even though like they're legal animals, right? Like Bahama boas used to come in all the time when they were allowed to come in, right? So that's not a question. It's just you gotta prove it, and then they couldn't. Even though I have animals here I have the CITES paperwork for them. They were allowed out in like 2018, so that was frustrating. But yeah, no, with the berries, like how did that project start? I'm assuming that was kind of through Jeff and all those guys, kind of thing.
Yeah, so the berry was interesting. I got a pair of what used supposed to be a pair of Cuban boas from Jeff. That was in 2010, and female turned out to be a male. So Jeff is like, "Oh, sorry, here's a Berry Island boa." So he sent me a Berry Island boa, and she was just a pet. I used to call her Amanda Berry, and her colors. If you like Asiatic, you're gonna like berries. They have like a bluish metal gone blue color with some weird reds coming out also. It's just gorgeous snake, and very well mannered snake. I never thought about breeding any of these, but I had the opportunity of getting a male on loan from Jay Wagner because these snakes are becoming really, really, really rare. Because they not because they're hard to breed, because they're hard to establish. The babies, moms can have 20, 30, 40 babies, and they are tiny except for the Cuban boas, and they want to start on anoles. And getting anoles is really difficult. And anoles are well caught, so some people don't want to deal with that. So it gets someone to be dedicated, like the really nice community of Calibratrus and West Indian Boas people. They have put a lot of work into keeping these animals. I felt like I had a lot of work into coastals and reds, so I didn't want to get into breeding these. I tried it. It didn't work out. That female, actually, going back to the berry, sorry, went to a tangent. That female, unfortunately, passed away while she was gravid. I don't remember what it was. It had something to do with her liver at that point. And then I acquired some animals from Steve later on, and that's the female that I have. I had a trio, and I had some from Eleuthera Island as well, but I got rid of those, and I just have the female now as a pet. And then I have the Cuban boas. I have 5 of those. I have 3.2 of those, which I'm trying to also move along the 2 males and then one of the females. So that would give me just 1 pair, my oldest pair. And that male, my oldest male it's still the one that I got from Jeff in 2010. So I still have him. He's still rocking. And then I had the Dominican Republic boa, or they also called them Red Mountain boas. Those were really popular because they're nice and shiny and bright and really red. By the way, shout out to Jeff and all the people for that website. That website is a gold mine. If you want to know anything about
it's fantastic. It's the best site.
Go in there. And if you still have a chance to buy the book, West Indian Boa book, I highly recommend it. That's
you gotta buy the new one, and you gotta buy the old one.
Oh yeah, yep, for sure.
I got both.
So, and I've only bred the Puerto Rican boas. In 2018, I bred my pair. I was lucky that all of them started on frozen thawed pinky mice, and they established really well. I still have that original pair, and I still have 1 babies from them, and then 2 babies from Bob Ross, Bob Stone.
Bobby Pebbles.
Bobby Pebbles. And I still have 2 of those. They're skittish snakes. I think the entire genus is pretty skittish. Even Cubans tend to be skittish. So that makes them shy eaters. Put that on top of, like, they prefer lizards. They take a lot of time to establish. Some animals, they just don't eat, and then suddenly they start eating out of the blue. And they take a lot of time to grow and get to breeding age. I think my female was closer to like 8 years old when she was actually ready to outsize and ready to go. So it takes some dedication, but I love them. They're beautiful animals. They display really well. Once they're adults, they're bold. They'll come at you. My adult Puerto Ricans, I can just grab them and just get them, put them whatever. The Cuban boys are a little bit better. The Cuban female, she's in a really big catio. She's on my Instagram as well. And her, I need to watch out only because her food response is pretty on point. So I need to either get her out of there or really get that feeding response off. And then she is handleable. At some point, I will breed them. So for those that don't know, Cuban boas are the biggest of the Calibratrus. They could get up to 10 feet long, 12 feet long.
Isn't there the biggest one was like 15 feet or something?
They're big.
If I
They
don't
can get
recall, I
really
could
big.
probably find it in this website here.
Yeah, it's probably in that page. So the female that produced two of my animals, she is a Walcott, really old animal. She's probably like 30 some years old, and she's, I think Jay told me she's probably like 10, 12 years old. She's really old. And that's when they caught her, 'cause she caught her as an adult, so she could be even older. So they are very long-lived boas, as boas tend to be, and they can get really big. My female's not that big, but with age, she might be. She's probably like this big around, so she's kind of thick, but she's not really long.
Oh yeah.
And they don't give birth to a massive amount of numbers. I think 5 might be the max, but the babies are also huge. The babies are come out eating small mice right out of not hatching, but giving birth. They're really big. They're really spicy too. They're nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're cool. I remember Jeff talking about how like wild. But the weird thing is that wild Cuban boas have like 15 to 20 babies still, which is kind of
Oh
odd.
wow.
So it's hard to understand why the captive ones only seem to have like 5 to 10 at most, maybe, right? Like usually it's less than 10. And but like
Mm-hmm.
apparently it sounded like I'm just looking at the stats here, not too much, but I think I remember Jeff referring to Peter Tolson, and how he was it because he worked for Columbus Zoo or one of the Ohio AZA zoos, because he did a lot of work in Cuba and the West Indies in itself. But he bred some stuff at the zoo, and it sounded like he was getting higher numbers in his animals. But maybe those were just more like original, like first generation stock kind of thing, which is
There's
really weird though.
also
How
yeah.
you go?
There's also a thought that they could be two variations of the Cuban boas. I dare to say species or subspecies. One that is more heavily patterned. One that could be bigger than the other one. I don't know if it's the island. On top of my head if it's divided north and south or east or west. But I remember Jeff mentioning something to that extent to me, and maybe in some other podcast that there could be that phenotypic change in between in the island. So that could be also that some animals get huge because they have those genes versus others. Yeah,
Oh
look
yeah,
at that.
and
That's huge.
yeah, these things are huge.
Really. And
And do
they're
you know
to me,
the
go for it.
the origin of most of the animals in the in the hobby in general? Obviously, there's probably some stuff that was kind of let out. I'm not sure if is it all from like Guantanamo, or is it, or was there other stuff that's kind of been let out since then into Europe and whatnot?
From from speaking about Cubans, I know that Tom Crushfield has done a lot of work with the West Indian Boas, and a lot of the lines and a lot of the animals that came through was through them. There was a guy called, I think his last name is Potts. I don't remember his first name is Steve. He did a lot also from bringing a
Ryan
lot of them.
Ryan Potts, because he's from the
Yes.
UK, and he moved here. I think he's another scientist guy, because he's how
Okay.
he brought. Actually, that's the funny thing about the Strigolatus and the Bahama boas is he brought when he came over from the UK. Originally, Steve told me it was the Aleuters he brought over, but it wasn't them. And it was when I talked to Ryan himself, he was like, "No, I brought." Was it the Long Island boa? Like the Long Island locality of Bahamas? So there was like a fourth locality of Bahama boas in the hobby, not just the 3 that Jeff was talking
Mm-hmm.
about. So somehow we lost one of those too. Just talking to Ryan. So that was just a weird thing. I remember talking to him about when I was trying to get CITES stuff.
There's been a
But
lot
yeah,
of
like
localities and species that's been lost because we can't import them anymore, or people weren't interested, or the difficulty in keeping the babies alive and established. A lot of species that are not there anymore. Yeah, so I think there's another one from Europe that I have that line as well. I don't remember from where specifically right now. and then the whatever wild caught, that female wild caught that produced the some that I have, that's unrelated to other lines. I don't know if there's any more lines of Cubans. I'm sure they were more because they used to come in.
Yeah.
Wild caught. Mm-hmm.
On this one, it has stuff from, what is it? Because Thomas Huff, he was Canadian. He had the Reptile Breeding Foundation back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s. Says he's bred them. Well, that's the funny thing too, is us Canadians don't have a bunch of this West Indian stuff anymore, or we've had to re-bring it back in, kind of thing. Because Tom Huff had all this stuff. Actually, he had Cat Island boas. He was the guy that had the Exuls originally, right? I'm sure that's how Peter got them, right? Is probably when Tom passed away. I'm sure he got some of that. Like, we lost Jamaican boas after they were CITES, so they got suitcased over to Europe or something. Because there's a couple Jamaicans around in some semi-zoological places and zoos. I know one place there's Jamaicans here still, and like they're just hard to find. And Puerto Ricans, actually, if you look at CITES papers from the last 25, 30 years, somebody brought 40 Puerto Ricans over 3 shipments from Europe in early 2000s to Canada, even though they're CITES 1. And where are those animals now? Because like those would be freaking cool. I've heard that there's relic animals that are older now, but then the people who have them don't want to breed them. They're like, oh well, they're too old, even though these are animals that should live 40 years anyways. So like, why not try them for a season, kind of thing, just to, even if you can get 5 babies. So that's kind of sucks, but yeah. But
and
Cubans,
I'm not opposed to. No, go for it.
Cubans have been able to be imported. Ashley DeZan, who we had on last week, she's been able to do. She brought in, I want to say 4 or 5. I think Cody Joe got a couple, and some other people got some. So we got some fresh Cubans, and then there's another old-time keeper up in Ontario, I believe, that has some Czech zoo stock Cuban males, I think. He also has. I didn't realize there was any left in Canada. But he has some Tropodophus, some of those little boas from the West Indies that bleed out of their eyeballs.
Those are cool too. Remind me of viper boas.
Exactly right. And then like some of them, like we don't have any of the. I'm not sure if any of the really nice looking ones are in the hobby, but they're still like a pretty cool animal, right? So I think we need to get Michael Berger on just to talk about that and the Canadian hobby from when he was up here.
Yeah, that would be cool. It would be nice just to ship them over there if it wasn't, such a headache. And I'm not opposed to breeding them again and all that. It's just because of the legality, right? Like you're talking about legality with bringing CITES and all that. If I, let's say I get a litter of 18 Puerto Rican boas and I establish them and I get them all going and I put all that effort into it, I'm going to be very reclusive. Who am I going to give them to, right? I want someone that still has that passion for them, right? Wants to keep them going. So it's a handful of people. So I could maybe breed them and give them to people and have them establish it themselves. Like, here you go.
Yeah, because they're ESA listed with the Jamaicans as well, right? And like the Indian spotted turtles and stuff. So you cannot sell them across state lines, even though they're like one of the first animals to be delisted from CITES 1 down to CITES 2 a couple of years ago. So, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife still hasn't revisited it to maybe downgrade them to a lower threat, because they're like, I'm sure like even when you were in Puerto Rico, like there probably were like kind of everywhere kind of thing. Like obviously like when people really over colonized the island, like it probably really hit them hard kind of, but it's also like, well, where were you looking? Were you only looking in the trees and they were just burrowed in the massive leaf litter because it's a big jungle kind of thing, right? So it's hard to look for snakes.
Yeah, but to be fair, there was a decline in numbers things, I want to say, in the last 20 years even. Also thanks to social media and people looking more and asking questions, more and more people in the island are like, okay, no, this is a Puerto Rican boa and this protected, I shouldn't touch it. And more people care now than even when I grew up. and the population has gone up to the point that yes, the putting them to CITES 2, I think it's granted, it's good, and it does mirror what you see in the island. Are they common to find? You need to know where you're looking, and there's certain places that are hot spots, but it certainly wasn't that when I was growing up. It's something that has come up in the last 25, 30 years for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. And because Puerto Ricans aren't the only boa technically on Puerto Rico, right? Because you also got the
Right.
Virgin Island population there, or at least a really small Virgin Island population,
Yes.
which is another
There's a
actually
small population.
critically endangered
Yeah.
species. Or well, like, is there two subspecies, or were they delisted down to one? I forget. So
I
I think
think
there
they
was.
were separated into their own species, if I'm not mistaken. It's probably in the website for sure. And interestingly enough, I did not know that that population existed within the island until I moved outside of the island, and I saw a friend of mine that I saw a post in one of the pages on Facebook, a Puerto Rican, biology page or whatever, and I found he knows that population, and he posted a picture of them, and it so there's two boas in Puerto Rico, the Calabathurus Hernandez, and then there's this one which I don't remember, but the common name is the Virgin Island, and it has a boulder pattern, almost like the big saddles. Yep, there you go.
Because this is the Mona Island.
That's the Mona Island, which is their own species. The Virgin Island boa
Yes,
is
because it used to
it's in
be.
a different species.
I think because it used to probably be a subspecies of the virgin,
Yes.
which is granti.
Yes,
Which
yes,
is these
correct.
guys.
Yep. And they look very similar. Me personally, I haven't looked them up,
I
look for them
I think
in the
I
island.
think these were the ones on Puerto Rico, just based on their
Okay.
taxonomy. Kind of says Inornatus granti for 40
Okay.
years.
Yeah. And hopefully next time I go to Puerto Rico, I can contact that connection that I have and go look for them and have that on my list and actually see them. That would be pretty cool. And they're small; they're not big. And I believe there's some Mona Island, but I don't think this one is in captivity, to my knowledge.
Yeah, because I know whichever one it is, like there's several zoos working with the Virgin Islands, which I'm
Okay.
assuming is probably granti, right? They're I think they found one island and tried to get rid of all the rats off of it to reestablish them, and I think that sounded like it was working. Like at one point they had a few hundred animals after releasing, and they've kind of got to a stable population. But I forget if there was a part where they did get hit again by rats or something. I think I have to reread the book,
such a
but
small
it's in the book, I
population.
believe. Yeah,
Being
yeah,
such a small
exactly.
population, it's very volatile, and small changes can really disrupt the numbers, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I thought there was one island where they're doing fantastic, and maybe there's some others where they're not doing as great. But yeah, and it's also cool how scientists too in the last few years have discovered, is it three or two new subspecies or different species of Calabothris as well.
I know of one.
Because
That
we
was a
got
while
these
ago, but yeah,
guys, which I think are these guys on the face of the book or no? 'Cause these guys this is the Ampelophus, described in 2021.
oh, I thought that was
Oh
my
yeah, these are a Dominican.
Walter.
Yeah. Oh, so these guys are because the Dominican island with all the little boas from there, right? Because Dominican and Hispaniola, you got what is it? You got the vine boas, the gracilis, and there's a couple
Yep.
subspecies of those. Then you got the Fordi, which is one or two subspecies of those just on Dominican, and then you got these guys, which were just discovered. Maybe I should share it. And Dom, these are all like lizard feeding animals, like up into their
Yeah.
adulthood. Like these things are just eating big anoles when they're adults because they only get like 3 feet and they stay as small as a toothpick.
Sounds like a horrible animal to keep in captivity.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think for Gracilis, they're like Tom has like one lone male left kind of thing because all this stuff was brought in and like these were
Long time
probably
ago.
brought in as well just under a different name back in the
Hmm.
90s when they were still allowed to export from the Dominican, and they died really well because they only want to eat feeder lizards, right? So it was just
Hmm.
another one of those animals that just I remember some old timekeepers up here even talking about, oh yeah, they used to come in all the time and all that stuff. And it's like, why couldn't we just establish a group of some of these? But some stuff's not meant to be kept in captivity either, right? So that's where
Exactly.
it's definitely tough.
Exactly. Yep. Some
But
animals are
the really
just not meant to be here. Yeah.
yeah the really cool one though is this guy that was discovered in the last few years,
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. Hmm.
the
That head,
Argentums.
that the how it looks is just so so cool, so threatening, but in a cool way. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, no, it's almost like a chrysogaster, but like just a silver chrysogaster.
Hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
these are
Hmm.
probably from the Caicos slash Bahama, but they haven't actually released which island they're from, just to avoid from certain
Good.
individuals who would go there and
Yeah. Hmm.
get rid of the population. Because apparently it's a very small population of boas on a singular island that I think they were studying for something else, and they just came across them randomly. So that was pretty neat. Uh,
There's a lot of diversity in the Caribbean islands, and not only like reptile. I used to work in entomology and did taxonomy work, and there's a lot of undiscovered arthropods and bivalves and even fish that researchers, for some reason, they don't go to the islands. And even like I don't know, even if you go to Puerto Rico, you don't need a passport. Well, I guess if you're a U.S. citizen, and it's easier to get permits and all that. So you would think researchers that want an easy paper or want to have some weird species, like for example, I used to work with this insect in the family Blepharisauridae. They're like a midge that lives in fast flowing waters. They because they're not very well studied, they're not studied as much. I go to Puerto Rico, and because we have a lot of body of water, I can find a new species. And if I am that researcher that wants to bring papers and want to have research keep going, because that's what I need to keep my lab afloat, I would be looking into that type of research. Easy to go get, find, fund, publish, get money. But that's just me. I
oh
guess
yeah.
I'm not a researcher.
Well, even just like anoles, right? Like thinking how there's like how many like there's like what 2,000 species of anoles, and there's probably
Yeah, a
way
lot.
more than that, right? Because I'm sure they're even on the same islands. They've probably isolated themselves into their own different species, or right? Like anoles is just like an active like evolution, kind of like almost like how
Hmm.
you got the Galapagos doing that. Like the Caribbean's like that, honestly, in itself, right? West Indian boas have
Right.
kind of spread across the West Indies in a way that's that not much other stuff has really, like other than anoles kind of thing. Like it's hard to, it's pretty neat, right? Because then it
Racers
just
as
stops.
well.
Oh yeah, the Puerto Rican racers too, and the
Hmm.
Tropidophis, right? Like those are,
Yep.
all
Yep.
those have kind of done it. But then it stops right at Dominica and Saint Lucia, where you actually have boa. You have not constrictors, but you have other boas
Yeah. Yeah.
there
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
are like their own
Genus.
species, and then it's yeah, yeah, those are cool. Oh, it was cool that Jeff actually finally said that he had a pair of the Nebulosa, I think, or he's had a pair of those
He's
for the
been
last
looking
20
for them
years.
for a while. Yeah.
No, he
Yeah.
had
Hmm.
he's had them the whole time.
Oh, oh, he did. I thought for some reason he didn't. Well, that's nice.
No, like I'm sure he's looking for more, but no, he if you I think if you re-listen to that one he did on Boas from beginning of this last year, the time flies way too
Okay.
fast. Yeah, no, he did it, and he was like, well, I guess I'll say it, and then so, but the thing is, they won't breed, so he needs to steal like a male Imperator from Warren probably just to kickstart it, kind of thing, like just combat the males or something and try to get the male to go that way, because that'd be cool to keep those going, kind of thing. Yeah, no, I love West Indian Boas. I could talk about them forever. I want to get Cubans in the next couple years, kind of thing. Once I get established where I'm moving, because they're freaking cool. Just have two.
They're worth it.
I'd want like 2.2, but how big they get is like, okay, I'd want to build like some big custom enclosure kind of thing, because they just get so big. But yeah, when I was on there, it said the largest Cuban. Yeah, exactly, right. Like the Bahamas, my 2021 male produced by Cody Joe. He's like maybe 4 feet and eating. I just feed him adult mice still because he's not that big. Like I can double it up, right? But it's still like he's not big, and he's taking his time growing, kind of thing. Like he eats every couple weeks when I feed him, but it's just slow and steady kind of thing. Yeah.
They're good display animals too. Like once they're eating consistently and they're not skittish, they're really great animals just to have them display and interact with. They're gorgeous. I think they're well worth it if you want an animal to interact with and do something different and something that's not another boa that's not your Domeros or your Constrictor. Give Cubans a try.
Yeah. I definitely like the Dominicans. I had a couple for a little bit, and I don't know. I was just like, well, I could just have a Bahama in this spot, and because I just love the color of the Bahamas, right? Like, for me, I know Dom likes his inland pythons, but I still think a nice Bahama boa beats an inland python any day. But he'll eventually have to come to my new house, and we can put an actual Bahama in his hands.
As I said, man, I plan on it. You know what? The next big show there, I'll come down, but you gotta host me for the weekend.
Well, I don't know if you want to be staying 3 hours away from where the show is, but
is that how far it is?
Yeah, we're a little far away, but it's you definitely take you looking for horned toads and stuff. But yeah, let's get some. Like I think this is the Nassau line of Bahamas.
Okay.
That's a gorgeous pic. You know what? It actually does look very similar to inlands.
So
yeah,
this is
a busier pattern.
Yeah.
Busier pattern though.
Yeah, exactly. And they changed, like, this looks a lot like my female kind of thing in Cody Joe's. My male is super dark though. Like Jeff thought when I sent pictures to Jeff, he was like, "Those are different lines. You shouldn't breed them together." And then it's like these all came from your same. This is the CITES paperwork. You sent these. My babies are from this litter actually here. Okay. I have 1.1 and Cody Joe has 1.1. His also haven't really done anything since we got them. So, yeah. They're awesome. I want to produce them and then hold back a lot.
Yeah, go for it.
So
I'm sure I'm not very keen into boas either, like their breeding cycles and all that. Probably because I haven't dove into it as much. But if you're more in tune to that and you're more into the boa side, yeah, give it a shot for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a learning as I go, because
that's what makes it fun,
I
right?
tried and I didn't really get anywhere because she hasn't had babies. So I thought she was maybe gravid, but I guess not, or maybe she was just cycling really late, and I mistook that as. But the males never really started cruising at all either. So I got a second male, not the same line, so I won't be putting him in with her. But I'll maybe try to combat the males or something, or use sheds from either one and try to get them going like that. So that'll be interesting. One final question with that. So so you had you did try breeding those berries a few times, right? And then you lost the female, and then before that you did
Yeah.
get some sort of slug clutch from her as well.
So she died in her first pregnancy, so she didn't get to do
Oh,
anything.
okay.
And I got two females on loan that were her sisters, and one of them in a male, I think it was a Walcott male, and I tried them, and one time give me all slugs, and then or was it slugs? I don't remember if it was slugs or stillborns, one of the two. And then the other one, I sent off to Jay while it was gravid, and it also gave out either slugs or stillborns. So I wasn't able to get anything out of them, and it was stillborns. I remember now. So a ton of babies. Unfortunately, they just came out dead. So nothing came out of that, and the only ones that I've been able to successfully breed were the Puerto Rican boas. And well, backtrack. I did pair Dominican mountain boas, the Dominican boas, 1 year, and I had some stillborns, and I had two that were alive. One died about a week or two after, and the other one took off, and she's still here, and she's eating, and she's doing great.
That, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was. Do you have an idea why maybe you were unsuccessful with that? Do you think it was like due to any of the heating stuff? But I've heard like mixed things where like Jeff's like you should try doing lights and stuff or heat panels, and then Steve was like, oh well, I just use heat tape, and then Steve's super successful, right? Like it seems like Steve can't do anything wrong. Like every time he breeds his berries and his Eleuthera and that, it's like, oh yeah, here's 25 babies, here's 33 babies. They're all good. There's like maybe one slug. Like it's all good. Well,
I honestly don't. I don't know. I should be paying if I'm going to be serious about breeding West Indian Boas. I would put more attention into seeing when my females are cycling. What are they doing? Are they spending more time in the cold and the heat? But because they're kind of pets more than they are to breed. I honestly don't know. Back then, when I was doing the berries and trying to breed them, they had heat panels. All the temperatures seemed to be right. I was doing everything that I thought was correct. But in the fact that they were all stillborn, they were fully developed, but they weren't alive. I don't know. I don't know much. I don't know what causes that. Right? I should talk to a boa guy. Maybe that'll help.
I was gonna say I've heard a couple of people talk about when you get stillborn baby boas, it's often because the female doesn't have proper place to lay or doesn't feel safe, right? So she just holds them past. Could that be a possible culprit? I don't know.
Yeah, that could be like in this picture here. I think what some people do, I think even Warren does it with his imperators. Actually, even Cody Joe with his stuff, he had like his Dominican female always like he had like a big cork log in it, and she just wants to lay the babies in there, right? They seem to want to. They want it, like even if it's just like Jeff, I think just had maybe if he had them in racks or something, you just give them a kitty litter pan, and because the pan has like a lip on it, they just go in there and they feel secure because even though nothing's over top of them, they still have something on the sides, so they can like kind of keep the babies all together while they're still getting out of their sacks and stuff. So yeah, I guess I'll have to watch out for that too when I try.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was that because my girls had, like you said, kitty litter. That's what I used for hides. So wherein I was in my other house in Iowa, it wasn't a very high traffic area. I was the only one going in and out. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't feel safe. Maybe they needed more, like crunch paper, newspaper, or something. Not sure, honestly.
Yeah, I think if I'm unsuccessful again and she gives me another slug clutch like she did for when I got her, I think my next plan might be to do the light bulb thing that I think Rob Stone does, and try like maybe 2 25-watt bulbs, kind of so that she has like a bigger basking area that's more like natural, maybe, and try that instead of the 80-watt heat panel. kind of thing. Like the males seem to like they perch up underneath the heat panel. So I've done it so I don't I set it more at like an ambient temp, knowing that the heat panel itself is going to give off way more heat than that. And then I've also done what MJ and that started doing, where they keep it at like 50% power instead of letting it run at 100% and like getting up to 100 something degrees on the surface, right? So I've dialed that back, and then also just kept it at that like ambient, like put it in at 80. I know the hotspot's going to be 85, 90 still, depending on the time of year, and I adjust it as I go, kind of thing. And yeah, I'll need to keep in tune with it, because right now they're in my bedroom, but I'm gonna put them in the snake room with everything else, because I'll have a bigger snake room when I move. So maybe being in, not that it's high traffic, but like every time you go to bed, you can just hear the thud of the female hitting every time you walk past it. She just always wants food, literally. That's gonna be fun to bag her up. That's gonna be a fun day.
If I could, I would have all my animals with bulbs. I know it's like old school and whatever, but I feel like bulbs are a better heat source. And I have like 8 to 5 animals that are on the bulbs. And if I could have all my animals, I would on bulbs. I think it's a safer and more natural heating source. But that's just me.
So my thought with bulbs is there's 2 issues with it. One, it's a lot of electricity, because I'm guessing if you're putting bulbs, you're putting bulbs that are non-efficient to create, so that they do offset with a lot of heat, right? And then the second thing is it's really hard to stack cages with bulbs on top, so you need a ridiculous amount of room, or you need to have, let's say, 8 inches in between each cages, whatever system you have, to be able to fit all that. So for me, like, I struggle with that, because I'm like,
I think we could get away with it though, in terms of like every second cage having bulbs, and then the cage without any heat, you just keep the males because they won't need as much heat anyways, kind of thing. Like they would still get like a hot side, right?
Sure.
Depending on what you're keeping, right? Like, and you'd have to judge, kind of thing. Like if it still gets 85 on the bottom of that, right above the bulb, kind of thing, of the cage above, then it wouldn't be any different than having heat tape under there, and it'd be a natural fluctuation.
Isn't it the same as using a heat, like a radiant heat panel? Because then at that point,
but it's different. But like I think we were talking with somebody else, or in another podcast, there's different radiation coming off of that. It's a different type of heat, right? Where the heat panel and heat tape are slightly different, but similar, as they only heat up the surface of the animal, while the bulb actually penetrates into them. Same as a heat emitter, right? It actually gets them warm instead of. That's why stuff will often, like on a heat pad or heat tape, just sit there, because it's never actually fully heating up, kind of thing, unless you maybe gave it a big enough area. But that's just it's hard to tell if that matters, right? Like a lot of people are like all of us are successful with heat panels and heat tape for a lot of stuff, or even heat pads, kind of thing. So yeah, it's.
I often wonder if people's heat tapes are just not wide enough. Like, to me, any big snake should all have at least a 12-inch heat tape. Like every single one of my adults has a 12-inch by 24-inch piece of heat tape. Like it's a pretty big area that they can fit their entire body on there, no problem.
Yeah. And if you're worried about that, you can always get the big, because I know I'm trying to get away from heat tape other than my like baby racks, kind of thing. So with that, like what actually Greg West does with Cornell's World, he when he sells his beginner kits for people taking home their first snake, kind of thing, he has a heat pad because heat pads can go just as easily on the bottom of a PVC cage and do the same thing as heat tape, and they're actually they're fully certified, kind of thing. So if people have the worry about that, you can always just use a heat pad, kind of thing, and maybe you don't even need to necessarily stick it to the bottom. If you're worried about having to replace it, you could use the foil tape and kind of tape it up there, kind of thing. But that's kind of on what you as a keeper want to fiddle with, kind of thing, and try. I know some people also just do back heat, right? Like Don, in one of an NPR episode, talking about his Amazons and green trees and the 32 quart rack that he would keep them in. He's like, yeah, I went all out and did heat on the back and the bottom, and to see kind of what worked best. So that's also interesting, because that's almost more of an ambient. If you're just doing the back heat, then you're kind of you're more relying on the overall variation throughout the tub, kind of thing.
Yeah. I
I think
find
it's
the problem with. Oh, sorry. You go, Eric.
no,
You
no,
go.
go for it. I was just gonna say, I think you can do the same thing with a lot of different tools, as long as you're being a student of the serpent and paying attention to your snakes. You can be successful heating them a lot of different ways. Yeah.
100% agree. And I think if we all look at our keeping, we've all evolved over times. I've done
Hmm.
just about every type of heating, and now I'm slowly transitioning to. I'm not even transitioning. I love heat tape. I just love it. I think it's the cheapest, best way to do multiple cages. But a lot of my cages now have heat tape on the bottom, and on the same side also has a radiant heat panel. But the entire other side is cold and has absolutely nothing. I've been slowly adding that to the more arboreal species, and it's been interesting to see. I don't love radiant heat panels, but it's another fun thing to do.
Hmm.
For heat bulbs and all that, I'll never do it because I don't have the room for it. If you
Right.
look behind me, that's exactly what my room looks like all around me. It's just from ceiling to the bottom, and I'm in a tiny ass room because that's all my the lady will let me have. So I gotta optimize what I can with the room I have.
Yeah, that's
So,
fair. I know
uh,
that one male Bahama I'm growing up. He does have a bulb on him. So depending on the time of year, I downgrade it to a 25 watt to a 50 watt in there. And he every day from morning he'll shift himself under the log that's right underneath it, and then he'll move, and then he'll kind of hover down just kind of around that area, and then come back up. It's cool. And he purchased like a green tree python right
Hmm.
beside it too.
Hmm.
So it's pretty neat. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Not everything, but like it's as a display thing. Like I think with my Angolans too, I think eventually I want to maybe at least put one of them with like some sort of display with like a nice heat bulb in there kind of thing to get them
Hmm.
out basking to see what they kind of do, right? So yeah, I guess it's all what we want as a keeper too, right? The
Yeah.
animals themselves will probably do fine as long as we provide them
Yep.
with their needs, but we could always do a little more to almost enhance our experience since we're the ones that are choosing to keep them in captivity kind of thing.
And they're beautiful animals, right? We are getting them, and we got into this because we enjoy looking at them, and they're gorgeous. We look at pictures all the time, so why not give them the opportunity to display for you? You know?
Exactly. Awesome. Dom, do you have anything else?
nope. Actually, I was gonna suggest seeing if you had one last question you needed to ask Eric. If not, you know what? Maybe I'll ask a last question there. Eric. Where do you see your collection going? What's the number one passion or number one place you want to go now?
Um, so I guess let's go, since we were talking about West Indian Boas. West Indian Boas, I want to keep them. I have some surplus. I have, I think, 1.2 Jamaican boas. I want to just keep one as a display. So, kind of consolidate more of my collection overall, and keep the boas as what they were intended in the first place and be nice display pieces. In my coastals, I want to take the Axanthics, red Axanthic project to a point where I feel that I'm happy with, the same as my reds. And with my reds, I want to select some animals to be like my core, and then just produce some outstanding animals and give them to the public, and hopefully ship them to Canada at some point. Wink, wink. Then from my Tanimbars, have a 2.3 group, and hopefully hopefully see if my theory of how they cycle is correct, and be successful with those, and have a population established in the U.S. of captive born, and have those animals become more popular so people can all have them, and they're not a ridiculous price like they are right now. Yep.
I like it. I like it. All right. So on that note, Eric, do you want to drop any of your social medias or any way that people can get a hold of you?
Sure. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, Bazooka Ectotherms. You can find me in either or. Send me a message through Instagram or Facebook. Instagram's a little bit more friendlier. If you have any questions about reds, coastals, West Indian Boas, I can help you out. And if you're looking for any animals that we've talked, just send me a message. We can chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Eric. I really appreciate
Thank
you
you. It
coming
was
on.
fun.
It was awesome nerding out
Yeah.
about West Indian Boas, because other than, I think we've had Bobby Pebbles on, so, and I don't even think we even talked about West Indian Boas too much. We just talked about other
Good.
philosophical things and podcasting and whatnot. I love how, like, a bunch of podcasts you get when you get them on, and then you like go into other directions. Like with you, we were actually able to keep it good on your topics, but like other
Good.
people like Rob
Good.
Stone, it's like, oh, we didn't even talk about that. We need him on again for another 3 hours, kind of thing, right? So, yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciate you coming on, and yeah, we'll probably get Ish on soon too. But
Yeah, you
yeah,
should. Hmm.
alrighty. So
Thunder.
I'll say the sponsor stuff, and then I'll let Dom close it out. Awesome. So, Reptile Rejects is proudly sponsored by Cornell's World and the Western Canadian Reptile Expo, WCRE. You can check out Cornell's World at cornellsworld.com or under their name on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So yeah, go check it out. Greg makes some of the best cages in all of North America, from PVC to PVC cages to racks to custom glass. Greg is actually by trade more of a glass designer guy, so he makes some pretty awesome dart frog enclosures too that people don't really know about as well. So yeah, he can help you out for whatever you're kind of looking for in terms of custom caging or just general PVC cages and other reptile supplies. And the Western Canadian Reptile Expo is the next one will be April 19th and 20th. So go get your tickets online now and beat the door, kind of thing. Awesome.
Well done. You're getting good at it. Eric, really, really glad to have chatted with you. Great podcast, really interesting. Just as a side note, just stay on. Don't hang up after we say we're going to click the red button. Just wait for us. Everybody, thank you for logging on. Thank you for listening. Press all those little buttons you're supposed to, whether it be, I don't even know what the heck they're called. But
Like, subscribe,
like, all that
follow.
kind of crap. We appreciate it all. It help us raise our 10-member audience to 11. We'd appreciate it. And to everybody, thanks a lot. I think we have a couple of great guests coming up the next few weeks, so we'll keep it shush for now, but looking forward to it. And see everybody next week. Thanks for joining Reptile Rejects, and have a good night, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.